We all remember the big news of the find of the SS Central America, the ship of gold, and all the treasures found from it. You've heard me cover the news surrounding this controversy and this ship of gold. So who knows? We may very well see images like this yet again with the news that I'm about to share with you now about a massive find in the Pacific Ocean. Let's explore! As shared with me by Doctor Who, this is quite a discovery. But before we get to this massive $5 million in gold that could potentially be lying at the bottom of the sea, let's first talk about something else that is definitely there, as has been found and been confirmed. Archaeologists uncover a once-in-a-lifetime 1,300-year-old gold and gemstone necklace. What a remarkable find this is, and pretty amazing. This is going to go in my Found Precious Metals playlist, so I hope you will check that out for other discoveries like this, something unique to this channel where I cover these types of stories. Archaeologists from MOLA, which is a Museum of London Archaeology, have uncovered an ornate 1,300-year-old gold and gemstone necklace during excavations in Northamptonshire, England. It was discovered in the burial of a high-status female burial from the early medieval period during preliminary works in preparation for a housing development by the Vistry Group. And that's how a lot of these things are discovered, is when there's excavations for modern development. That earth has been not turned for thousands of years or hundreds of years, and here it is. We've got it. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime find. It's got 30 pendants and beads made from Roman coins, gold, garnets, glass, and semi-precious gemstones. A rectangular pendant with a cross motif forms the centerpiece of the necklace and is inlaid with red garnets set in gold. It's part of a collection of grave goods still being investigated that has been dubbed the Harpole treasure. Based off of the name of the local parish, experts have stated that the female burial was one of the most significant from the period ever discovered in Britain. Similar early medieval necklaces have found at other sites across England, with the closest parallel being in Dulsborough necklace found in Northamptonshire in 1860, and now in the British Museum's collection. And so this is remarkable. You see this here, but that necklace above is just amazing. What a find that is. And that's going to, not only does it tell us how gold has been valued throughout history, and we'll learn that again as I follow the gold rush story, but just how remarkable other things tied with gold can be. It's a status symbol. We see it today, we've seen it yesterday, and throughout history. And that's the one common theme here. Gold is timeless. Next, we have this gold rush steamer, SS Pacific, found almost 150 years after it sank, with nearly $5 million worth of gold on board. And this ship, as it sank, it killed 325 people from British Columbia to San Francisco. The famous gold rush steamer SS Pacific, which sank as it traveled from British Columbia to San Francisco in 1875, with almost $5 million worth of gold on board, and it's been found at the bottom of the ocean. The SS Pacific, which was carrying $180,000 of gold, around $4.8 million in today's money. By the way, I did some quick math on that, and that's about 2,800 ounces or 87 kilos by close to today's measure, but that's just an estimate. I think this is why they don't tell us how much was actually there. We don't know exactly how much will be down there when it's explored. It was the deadliest maritime disaster in the history of the western United States at the time. It had collided with the sailing ship Orpheus south of Cape Flattery in Washington. Two experts from the Northwest Shipwreck Alliance, Matthew McCauley and Jeff Hummel, now believe they have found the lost ship. One of the signs that the ship has been found is the discovery of two circular depressions in the seabed, a short distance from the rest of the wreck, which are thought to be the steamliner's paddle wheels. Philip Drew, the group's spokesperson, said historical accounts describe the Pacific partially breaking up at the surface, so we expected to find paddle wheels independent from the rest of the ship. Sure enough, we were able to image both paddle wheels with sonar and view the uncovered portion of them with the ROV in the nearby debris field. Although the team have not made the precise location of the wreck public, understandably so, a Drudge has now granted exclusive salvage rights. However, the team has given a rough location and said that the wreck lies some 23 miles offshore at a depth of between 1,000 and 2,000 feet. They're hoping to open a museum dedicated to artifacts recovered from the wreck. However, there'll be a window of time for descendants to assert ownership in court. And look at that. There's some of the footage there you can see as they go down. But this is kind of where they believe it is. Remarkable. And that was the route that was planned from Vancouver down to San Francisco. The discovery was more of a slow realization and then an aha moment. The site required close and repeated examination with side scan sonar lines and remotely operated underwater vehicle, or the ROV, dives to gather enough data and evidence. It's amazing what technology can do to find these things these days. Jeff Hummel and the team haven't had much time to take a step back and enjoy the moment yet. And so you will see they'll probably take some time during the holidays to do that. We're very much connected to the stories of all those who perished on the fateful day in 1875, which tempers our celebration of this discovery. There's still years of hard work ahead to excavate the wreck, taking the appropriate care to recover and preserve artifacts. For our region of the world, Mr. Drew said, the west coast of the U.S., the Pacific represents the most deadly maritime disaster in our history. We also believe the wreck is in an incredible state of preservation, and so we expect and hope that the artifacts we recover will have considerable historic significance. Although at that depth, it's going to be tough to get all that stuff out. It's pretty remarkable. The Pacific was captained by Jefferson Davis Howe, who commanded a rebel gunboat in the U.S. Civil War, and whose brother-in-law, Jefferson Davis, was the former Confederate president. Remarkable. Only 2 people survived the disaster. He was among the dead. Some of the others on board the ship included the elite of the Pacific Northwest, gold miners going home for winter, and 41 people identified only as Chinamen. Children did not pay to sail, which means they were likely undercounted, and a number of additional passengers rushed aboard at the last moment without buying a ticket. There have been no human remains detected at the site of the wreck yet, as discoverers think it is unlikely any will be found due to the depth of the water and the strong currents of this area. The Orpheus survived the initial collision and had careered into the Pacific's path after its second mate mistook her lights as those of Cape Flattery Lighthouse. Orpheus sank later that night, but her crew made it ashore. Gold rushes had a major impact on America, Australia, and Canada, and South Africa during the 19th century. A remarkable time it was. The gold rush first began in 1848 and finished in 1899. Due to the mania, people would often move west so they would be in with a chance of getting some gold. Rushes occurred throughout Canada, Australia, America, and South Africa. Typically, a rush began with the discovery of a placer gold made by an individual. The gold was first washed from the sand and gravel by individual miners with little training. This would be using a gold pan and similar simple instrument. When it was found that the volume of gold-bearing sediment was larger than a few cubic meters, the placer miners built rockers and sluice boxes. Some of these techniques are still used today, by the way. Then a small group was able to wash gold from the sediment many times faster than using gold pans. As a result, almost no capital investment was required, and the gold was mined using simple pans and equipment that can be built on the spot. Due to the low investment, high value per unit weight of gold, and the ability of gold dust and gold nuggets to serve as a medium of exchange, placer gold rushes happened even in remote locations. And here you can see an image of some of the sonar that they did to find some of the wreckage down below. And so let's talk a little bit about the Cassiar Gold Rush. As the Caribou Gold Rush was waning towards the end 1870s, another gold rush was about to take place in the northwest British Columbia, also called the Cassiar. The region was home of the Heady Gold Rush to a heady gold rush of its own. Gold had actually been discovered in the area a few years prior to the Stikine River. A minor gold rush developed, which petered out fairly quickly due to the lack of subsequent gold discoveries. However, when high-grade gold deposits in the northern reaches of British Columbia were unearthed, the Cassiar Gold Rush began in full swing. The northern area of British Columbia is characterized by quite rough terrain. The area is quite remote and doesn't see a lot of visitors. Its topography is littered with steep mountains and glaciers. That's a strange use of terms. And experiences quite severe winters. As such, it took some time before resources were available for miners to begin exploring the area. It's also an area now where the series alone has filmed many seasons on the Vancouver Island anyway. It was the summer of 1872 when Henry Thiebert and Angus McCullum made one of the earliest documented gold discoveries, which is now the Thiebert Creek, a tributary of Dease Creek, given its name. Thiebert passed away the following year due to severe cold. Despite this, news of the rich output began to entice miners to brave the area. Activity and development in the area increased even further, and in 1874, several large gold nuggets were unearthed at the McDame Creek, which became the center of the Cassiar Gold Rush, with activity also significant in Thiebert Creek. Roughly upwards of $1 million of gold was mined in the region, with the largest recorded find from McDame weighing in at a whopping 72-ounce gold nugget. Wow! Because of the Cassiar Gold Rush, the Laketon, Portier Landing, and Centerville towns were established. The height of the mining boom, Laketon was considered the unofficial capital and became home to 4 hotels, 2 cafes, and 5 stores, and even its own newspaper. The rush eventually dwindled in the 1880s as interest drifted elsewhere. The final nail in the coffin for this region was the Klondike Gold Rush, which started in 1898. Any miner that remained in northern British Columbia headed up to the Yukon. These areas have become ghost towns today, except for a few large-scale companies with present-day undertakings to unearth more of the Cassiar's high-grade deposits. They're pretty remarkable. And again, that's how it was back then. Nowadays, it's very difficult. You got to drill really deep to get there. But yes, indeed, pretty wild. So there it is. Fascinating. Thanks again to Dr. Who for sharing this with these stories with me, these pair of stories with me. One thing I like to do in this channel, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I want to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.